Wyoming Armory right here in freedom-loving Cody, Wyoming. Now, a couple of years ago, we did an episode on a really rare and unusual variation of the 1892 Winchester carbine, known in the collector community as movie guns. And we'll get into why they're called movie guns here in a minute. But these are just a standard 1892 carbine made in the late 20s, but fitted with a 20-inch octagon short rifle barrel, a short fore-end reminiscent of the fore-ends used on the Winchester Trapper, or as Winchester called them, baby carbine models, and a barrel band that's fitted over this octagon barrel. Now we can kind of guess that these were originally intended for rifles, because there's still a dovetail for the nose cap tenon that's, because of the short fore-end, is exposed out here, and we can see on these barrels. Now, I didn't even know about this variation until my good friend Rob Cassab wrote an article on them in the Winchester Collector magazine, that wonderful quarterly magazine of the Winchester Arms Collectors Association. And at that time there were 6 of them known, all rifled variety. Well, since that article came out, several more have surfaced, and we're up to a total of 17 known survivors now. And interestingly, 4 of those that have turned up have been smoothbores, including this one that walked in the shop just the other day. Now, in Rob's article, he talks about this connection to the movie studios. And Edwin Pugsley, who was vice president of Winchester at the time that these were made, recalled that in the late 20s, things were pretty tough at Winchester. You know, there was a glut of military surplus bolt-action rifles available for next to nothing. They weren't selling a lot of lever action, so he was taking whatever orders he could get for some of these guns. And he recalled that Paramount Studios had ordered something less than 100 of this kind of unusual variation. Okay, and there is in that article a connection to a late Wild West show, and of course it didn't last very long because of the economic times, but that makes sense that now that these smoothbore varieties have showed up here. So today we're going to take a little closer look at this really unusual variety, and of course we're going to take them out and put a few rounds through both of these old movie guns. Now, the back half of these 92 carbines is typical carbine in every way. See the saddle ring and the carbine butt stock, carbine butt plate, and it wouldn't be long after this that Winchester would transition away from that carbine butt stock and the saddle ring. So these are kind of very late for those configurations. But here's where things kind of get a little strange. Notice now we've got octagon barrels. Now the one on the bottom has a marbles rifle sight. I think probably that's been changed. One on top, of course, has the typical Winchester 92, 94 carbine sight. And then, of course, we have the short fore ends, the barrel band formed around the octagon barrels. If you look closely, you can see the dovetail for the nose cap tenons there. And then both have a very similar, or the same, front sight. Now when we look closer at this smoothbore version, you see that the barrel was marked smoothbore, but it didn't have a lot of foresight, because with these shorter fore ends, that barrel band goes right over the first few letters of smoothbore. Now on this one, we also have a marking on the buttstock down here that says smooth. Now I don't know whether the other ones are similarly marked, and I kind of question whether this is Winchester's markings, because it isn't real even or straight. Now here's the very interesting part of the smoothbore, of course, the bore itself. You can see not a hint of any rifling, and there is a little bit of roughness in it. The fellow that I bought it from, that brought it in, he'd had it since he was a young man, around 50 years, and said that he never shot any shot through it, but did shoot it a few times with just regular bullets, and of course, as one would expect, it wasn't very accurate. Interestingly, my wife's a Colt collector, has a full set of smoothbore medium frame Colt Lightning rifles. And the barrels for those Colt Lightning smoothbores were pulled off the line before they were rifled, because those bores are at land diameter rather than groove diameter, where if they'd been rifled and then the rifling's cut out, they would be at groove diameter or higher. So a 4440, rather than being 428 or larger, is actually about 420 diameter. So I was curious about this 92, whether the same was true, whether Winchester pulled these off the line before rifling or would have cut the rifling out of them. And so using gauge pins, I came up to the one that fits the best is 433. So it appears that these smoothbores had been rifled and pulled off the line and then drilled out and reamed and made into smoothbores. Of course, on this channel, you know, we don't just admire these rare old firearms. We take them out and shoot them. So I had some 44 caliber shot capsules laying around, and this morning we loaded up some 4440 shot cartridges, and it's time to take it out to the range and just have a little fun. Okay, so here we are at the Cody Shooting Complex here at the Plinken Range, and just for fun we brought both of these old girls out. We'll put 5 rounds through this rifled version, and then we'll get into shooting some shot loads through that smoothbore. Of course, we can't bring a gun to the shooting range without putting a few rounds through it. Somebody's having fun at the pistol range next door. Okay, here we go. Well, that's a good shooting little carbine. Okay, I'm going to get set up and we're going to put some of this shot on paper, just see what kind of pattern we get. And of course, you know, we're going to have to splatter some milk jugs with it. Okay, so we're just back about 10 yards here. We're going to get one of our newly made little shot cartridges here. Single load it because they're a little bit dainty, so I'm not super confident in these things, running them through the magazine tube and up into the action without spilling them into the action. And I want to shoot this thing some today, so we're going to just single load them, at least to start with. Oh, let's go check out that pattern. So check that out. What a wonderful pattern. Okay, so now we got our milk jug set up, and that thing makes such a wide pattern even at just 10 yards. We're going to be up close and personal. Now if you think about what they were doing with these guns, if they were in a trick shooter's hands in a Wild West show, you know, they were throwing up glass balls at 10 feet. So that big wide pattern is exactly what you'd be looking for if you were a trick shooter back in the day. Okay, let's start off on the left hand side over here. Oh, that does the job. I like it. Not much question about those. I love it. Okay, here's a twofer coming up. Okay, the first couple of them I didn't get sized quite right, I guess, because they were pretty stiff going in, but now they're loading and ejecting really nice. Okay, now just 2 of these jugs left, and this is great fun. That one, it hit it good and square. It's leaking out from every hole, but it didn't do much to it. So I'm going to shoot a little lower just to make it a little more dramatic. That is one tough milk jug right there. Okay, let's go kill that last one. What great fun. Who'd ever look at that and think shotgun? Okay, now just for fun, and because we've got a few shot cartridges left, we're back here at 25 yards, and we'll just see what kind of pattern we get on paper at 25 yards. I mean, it covered that whole paper basically at 10 yards, so this really makes a loose pattern. Okay, let's see what we did. Okay, as you can see, most of that shot was on target, but good and spread out. Looks like about 3/4 of it was on the upper half of the target, so it is shooting that pattern a little bit high. So there you have it, an 1892 Smoothbore shotgun, one of only 4 known. What a kick in the pants to shoot. And in case you're wondering, those shot cartridges hold about 200 grains, which is just about what a 4440 bullet would hold as well. But of course they're a lot bigger because there's a little more airspace in there. We just put them over just a few grains of bullseye, so pretty light loads. What a hoot. Well, thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, maybe learned a little something about a pretty rare Winchester. Until next time, happy trails from the Cody Shooting Complex in Cody, Wyoming.